lugares inusitados, perigosos ou até mesmo paradisíacos, porém fora do eixo tradicional do turismo.
Destinos que não seriam sua primeira opção de viagem, é para onde nós vamos, explorando suas histórias, curiosidades e encarando desafios a cada instante. Esse é o nosso objetivo. Eu sou Ricardo Maluf.
Eu sou o Henrique Mendel e este é o Destino em Comum.
No episódio anterior exploramos a base militar de Duga, próxima à usina nuclear de Chernobyl. Lá foi construído um dos maiores radares de horizonte do mundo, cujo objetivo era detectar qualquer possível ataque americano à União Soviética durante a Guerra Fria, em questão de segundos. Neste episódio nos despedimos da Ucrânia, indo em direção à Polônia na União Europeia. Optamos por fazer o trajeto entre Kiev e Varsóvia de trem, mesmo sabendo que a viagem dura mais de 16 horas. Mesmo com a chuva que não deu trégua, cumprimos com nosso objetivo de conhecer as cidades de Varsóvia e Cracóvia a pé.
Diariamente há um trem que faz a rota Kiev-Varsóvia e que é uma experiência à parte. Chegamos na estação central de Kiev e levamos um bom tempo até descobrir de onde sairia o trem. Não é a experiência mais simples do mundo, quando tudo está em ucraniano, quase ninguém fala inglês e o trem está quase partindo. De qualquer forma, conseguimos embarcar, trazendo junto nosso almoço, um belo balde de galinha frita do KFC, que foi nosso companheiro por boa parte das longas 16 horas que durou o trajeto. Na verdade, o que deixa a viagem demorada é o processo alfandegário, já que a Ucrânia ainda não faz parte da União Europeia. Na fronteira com a Polônia, ficamos parados por diversas horas, em que soldados poloneses fizeram uma revista minuciosa no trem, atrás de contrabando. Esta é uma rota conhecida pelo contrabando de bebidas e cigarros, fabricados na Ucrânia e levados para serem vendidos na União Europeia. Como se a revista nos vagões não fosse suficiente, ainda tivemos que esperar a troca das rodas dos vagões, pois o tamanho dos trilhos são diferentes. Obviamente, todo este processo é feito no meio da madrugada, e por diversas vezes fomos acordados delicadamente pelos discípulos do Rambo, pedindo nossos passaportes ou para revistarem nossa bagagem, equipamentos e cabine. Não foi de perto a melhor noite de sono que tivemos.
Mal havíamos chego a Varsóvia e descobrimos que em poucos minutos começaria um passeio guiado pela cidade. Mesmo exaustos e com a chuva que nos acompanhou, não desanimamos e fomos conhecer um pouco mais dessa cidade, tão abalada durante a guerra. Encontramos com nosso guia em frente ao Castelo Real e de lá partimos por uma bela caminhada pela Cidade Velha, ou o que restou dela depois da guerra.
Zygmuntus I Vasa actually came from Sweden. For a couple of years, he was ruling 3 different countries. He was ruling Poland, Lithuania and Sweden. And he has got that column here because he was the guy who moved the capital, the Polish capital, from Kraków to Warsaw. And that column was constructed by his son, by the next king, Władysław IV. It was the first king's monument. So let's move towards the royal castle. In front of you there is a royal castle. The old town was completely destroyed during the Second World War. Old town was rebuilt very quickly in the 50s. So that houses they are about 60 years old, but the castle was rebuilt as the last thing. It was rebuilt exactly 30 years ago. the cathedral was destroyed. It was destroyed because it was two German tanks attacked the cathedral, and here you can see the piece of the original caterpillar from that tanks. The tanks, they were called Goliath, and they weren't the regular tanks. The tanks, they were about 1.5 meter long and about 1 meter wide, and they were full of the explosive materials, full of dynamite, and the soldiers were driving that cathedral using the remote controls. Two of them attacked the cathedral, so that's why the cathedral was destroyed. And this is the real original part of them. Okay, so we are in the market square, and here you can see the other symbol of Warsaw is the mermaid. Once upon a time in the Baltic Sea, two mermaids used to live, and one of them was the coward, and the other one was the brave one. The brave one wasn't afraid of swimming towards the Vistula River. The coward stayed at the coast, and it's the symbol of Copenhagen, and the brave one came here to Warsaw. In the houses around, they are like in the ground floor. There are restaurants. All of them right now, they are just getting open. There are also some museums, some societies, but in the most of the buildings, they are the normal apartments. We just reached the first borders of Warsaw. So like the old Warsaw, that's the city over there, was located at the beginning of 14th century, and as you can see, it was surrounded by the city walls. And here you can see the element of the medieval fortress, which was called Barbican. Actually, you can see just the half of the Barbican. You have to imagine the other half, which looks really similar on that side. And it was used for the security purposes. In the medieval times, there were Barbicans in almost every city in Poland and in Central Europe. During the Second World War, Germans divided city into 3 different parts. The largest part was for the Polish people. There was the small part for the Germans, and that area became the ghetto. And the ghetto was surrounded by the wall, and over there on the pavement is marked the exact place where the when the wall was standing. 10 meters from me is the border, is the ghetto. The ghetto was there. Jewish from Warsaw and from the surrounding towns and villages were put in that area, about 450,000 men and women, and they couldn't go out from the ghetto, and the Polish people couldn't enter the ghetto. In the summer 1942, Germans did what they called final solution of Jewish cause. 300,000 Jewish people were sent to death camp in Treblinka. The people there were just half an hour, 1 hour. They just went out from the trains and they were sent to the gas chambers, and in the gas chambers they were simply killed. Look right. Over there is the symbol of the Polish resistance during the Second World War, and the largest action, the largest operation carried out by them was definitely the Warsaw Uprising 1944. And that uprising started 1st of August 1944 exactly at 5 p.m. So if you ever come here to Warsaw, if you are in Warsaw 1st of August at 5 p.m, all traffic stops, the sirens are on, and like everybody is commemorating all the victims, all the soldiers who fought in that uprising. Pope John Paul II celebrated his Mass in the 2nd June 1979. He's considered to be the national hero, the greatest Pole in the history. He didn't like Warsaw really much. He preferred Kraków, but you know, he was just a man and nobody is perfect. Even he became a Pope. Yeah. Okay, so this is our last stop. You can see here the tomb of the unknown soldiers. Such tombs were created in Europe after the First World War in 20s. The first one I think was in Paris, but there is in London, in Berlin, in Amsterdam, and here we have got the Polish one. As you can see, like there is a tomb, there are flowers on the tomb. Usually the presidents, the royals, the important persons who are visiting Warsaw, they have most of them stop in two places. Like here, they give flowers at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers, and as well they give flowers in the Ghetto Heroes monument. It's written that the unknown Polish soldier is buried there, who died fighting for his homeland.
Pelo pouco que caminhamos pelas ruas de Varsóvia, a impressão que tivemos é de uma cidade extremamente melancólica. De qualquer forma, é uma cidade linda, com uma arquitetura impecável e com uma história incrível, o que faz a visita valer a pena.
O trajeto entre a capital e Cracóvia tem cerca de 300 km e de trem leva-se cerca de 3 horas para chegar. Foi uma viagem bem confortável, em que pudemos aproveitar para conhecer um pouco da região ou tirar pequenos cochilos revigorantes. Pegamos um dos primeiros trens da manhã, para poder chegar a tempo de fazer um walking tour pela Cracóvia depois do almoço.
Cracóvia é uma cidade incrível, que permaneceu praticamente intocada durante a guerra, motivo no qual preserva muito de sua arquitetura dos séculos anteriores.
Demos uma bela caminhada pela Avenida Florianska, uma das ruas mais valorizadas e prestigiadas da Polônia. Construída no século XIII, ela é a versão polonesa da Rua Arbat, que conhecemos em Moscou. Tomada por lojas, cafés e restaurantes, também serve como galeria de arte improvisada ou palco para artistas de rua. Mesmo tendo estudado a história da cidade, que já foi capital da Polônia por muitos séculos, é sempre válido conhecê-la com um guia nos explicando detalhes e curiosidades que normalmente passam desapercebidos. Foi assim que conhecemos o Piotrek, ou, como ele se apresentou, Peter, um senhor muito simpático que passou cerca de 3 horas caminhando conosco pelas ruas da cidade, explicando um pouco mais da história local para nós.
At the end of St. Florian Street, there is St. Florian's Gate and one of the 4 towers which have survived. You can see our Barbican. So the idea of Barbicans was taken by Spaniards from Arabic ancient defensive buildings. That's why you can see similar structures in the south of France, as well as in Spain, of course. Okay. This square is popular because here is a number of nice restaurants. Scandal Royal restaurant, and there is a light brown gate. There is such a restaurant which is called Morskie Oko, which means the eye of the sea. The eye of the sea, Morskie Oko, is a name of a beautiful lake which is in the Tatra mountains over 100 kilometers far from Krakow in the south. So please have a look. The building is called Collegium Maius, a Latin name, which means the smaller collegium.
How many students were
These days there are up to 30,000 students studying in different departments. So the Jagiellonian University is a very, very big institute. Come on, please. So, very soon, in 1 or 2 minutes, there will be such a show. I hope there will be. Every 2 hours, 5 times a day, the 2 green doors open, and then there is a parade of figures representing people from the past who are important for the university. Please have a look. As you can see, it's the same tower, and here is the complex of the former town hall buildings. The Austrians decided to destroy them because they were in a poor state at the beginning of the 19th century, and the Austrians found them to be dangerous for people passing by, and they decided to dismantle them. Only the tower has survived. And, of course, it's a beautiful Gothic tower. Over there, however, you can see the building called the Cloth Hall.
The original name, it's in Polish, it's
Sukiennice. Sukiennice, because sukno is the old name of cloth material, you know?
And here inside we have...
These days, inside, there is a number of big number of small shops which sell souvenirs. And the souvenirs are very attractive. They are very colorful. They are mainly made from wood, from glass, from leather, from amber.
And on the top floor, there's something working now, or
On top?
Yeah.
You know, over there is a restaurant, but also partly inside there is a museum, National Museum. You can stare there and have a look at St. Mary's Church.
Uneven towers.
Yes, of course, St. Mary's Church is the most important church in the city. It has always been the municipal church in the city of Krakow, which means that it was founded by the citizens of Krakow, and it has always served them.
No alto da colina, às margens do rio Vístula, que cruza o país de norte a sul, fica o castelo de Wawel, construído durante o reinado de Casimiro III, no século XIV. Por muitos séculos, foi a residência oficial dos reis poloneses e atualmente abriga um dos maiores museus de arte do país. Na noite em que estávamos indo embora de Cracóvia, presenciamos uma cena de protestos na praça principal da cidade. Centenas de manifestantes lotaram as ruas e praças, marchando em um protesto, seguidos de perto pela polícia.
So yeah, like I said, these guys, they are nationalists, like proper nationalists. Sometimes they are rioting, they are, and they can be dangerous from time to time, trust me. Especially for the foreigners.
Okay.
Cracóvia é uma cidade incrível, que permaneceu praticamente intocada durante a guerra, motivo no qual preserva muito de sua arquitetura dos séculos anteriores. No próximo episódio, iremos explorar as profundezas da mina de sal de Wieliczka, no sul da Polônia, onde caminharemos por mais de 20 quilômetros entre dezenas de túneis e passagens, a mais de 300 metros de profundidade, nesta que é uma das mais antigas e importantes minas da Europa.